Thank you, Chair. Morning.
I have to say I share the concerns of colleagues in terms of the duplication of boards. I was meeting with universities this week who told me that they are having to convene boards and panels of local authorities and people to get them to work together because nobody is, and they sit on all of these boards already, and they find it very frustrating that they have to go to meeting after meeting about the same thing. So it is a huge challenge, and equally around the selection of areas. You know, my Mansfield constituency is the 8th coldest of the cold spots in the country, and most of North Nottinghamshire is higher on that list than Derby or Stoke, for example, and yet there's nothing in Nottinghamshire, so it does feel incredibly frustrating. But I wanted really to touch on some of the comments you've made about choosing not to impose things on a national level and actually to have that local accountability. But it seems to me, and from the discussions we had last week, that it still is the DfE imposing things. They told us that they were told which programmes they can and can't do. They were told which organisations they have to work with. So is it not just a kind of facade of accountability on a local level, and actually it's still the DfE dictating what happens?
Well, the experience I've had for over a year now is actually the leadership are fiercely independent. The chairs meeting, not only do they obviously meet with my officials and with me, but they actually have separate time to meet without any of us in the room. They really are passionate about their local plan, what they're trying to deliver. What we tried to do, which I think is actually a really good innovation and articulated badly by this minister at the outset of this evidence session, is actually get local people who know their area to develop a plan, but then expose them to national programs and the evidence behind those national programs, and they can then say, actually, you know, my issue here is phonics, so I will access this particular program from you. My issue is exposing young people to the local job opportunities, so I want to do more of that. So actually it's evidence-led rather than us imposing it, which I think is really smart, because so much of what we do in government is a load of very clever people in different departments think they've got the right idea. A minister, or, you know, dare I say, a Secretary of State or a Prime Minister wants an initiative, and then the officials launch something and say, this is what we're doing because, you know, that's what we will do. This is actually locally produced, so I think it has the best opportunity. I don't know about the sort of university example you gave. I can say to you, if you attend one of the meetings, you will see that actually they really do go through their plan. Where are they on it? Are they meeting the targets? It's like a proper board meeting. I'm
sure there's a great benefit to it. It's just a shame it's not happening in my area. But I can't really see how they can be genuinely independent and critical when ultimately the chairs are appointed and hired and fired by the DfE, and they will have to be accountable to the DfE. So to what extent can they actually be honest in that approach?
So they're accountable to their plans rather than to the DfE. What they're trying to do is deliver on that plan. I don't see, you know, in lots of walks of life, before I joined this place, I was a non-exec director on a board of a FTSE 250 company. Now, the CEO hires me to be a non-exec, but my job is to scrutinise his executive decisions and his team. And I wouldn't hold back from saying, actually, I think, you know, we need to do more here if you really want me to deliver, if the company needs to deliver this. And so I don't see this as being, I certainly have not experienced it as an issue. There is no one around the table saying, oh yes, well, you're the great sage, Nadhim, you tell me what to do with my area. No.
So why did the department feel the need to tell the people who came to our round table the other week what they should say in the meeting? They were all briefed beforehand by the DfE.
So I can respond to that question, because obviously being the civil servant in charge, so we didn't brief everyone who attended to as to what to say. I actually was in attendance, but I was in attendance in terms of actually showing support and commitment to the great work that they do in their local areas. I think it would have been remiss of me not to be here and to thank them for actually coming to talk about this programme and for giving up their time to do so. So it was very much in a supportive capacity rather than that we were in any way briefing them as to you must say this or you must not say that.
It seemed like the templates for their written evidence were provided by the DFE as well.
So the chairs will consult with my heads of delivery. There's a real strength of collaboration between the partnership boards and indeed my teams. I think that is...
I mean, the evidence that people came to us, it was micromanaged by the DFE, and the template responses were very similar, the layout. Why was that felt necessary?
So it wasn't in any way imposed. I think where chairs were looking for sort of support and bringing that stuff together, but ultimately it was for chairs to sign that information off to ensure that it was their information and that they were held to account for that. But as I said, our teams work incredibly closely together. So as a chair, where actually they know there's a lot of information held by my colleagues within the department, then they'll seek to draw upon that, but then put their own stamp and own tilt on that, because ultimately it was chairs.
It didn't look like that. I mean, to us, the way that evidence was sent in, the way that the witnesses were primed and briefed, it seemed to me that it was you were very much micromanaging the whole process.
So I think some of the examples that came out of the roundtable, though, evidence that exactly wasn't the case. So, the chair of Blackpool talked about the NCS and some of his issues around that. They talked about further engagement with post-16. We are really interested to hear those lessons, so it would not be in our best interest to tell them what to say, because actually this was an opportunity for us as a department, as well as the regular chair meetings we have with them, to hear from chairs and to get that challenge and to ensure that then we're reacting to that, collaborating with them. We, for example, have got a chairs meeting in a month's time, and in response to some of the things that they were saying in that panel, Martina Milburn's going to be coming along. We're also going to get Bays and DWP colleagues to actually talk about what more we can be doing in the post-16 space, what more we can be doing in terms of engaging with other departments, and that was a direct response to the challenge that has been raised by them. Was not a direct response to a challenge we told them to raise.
To my final question, if I can, Chair, you mentioned there Graham Cowley from Blackpool, who said that he'd been told that they had to work with the NCS, even though the NCS didn't really exist in their area, and something that he felt he had to kind of go along with the DFE steer. So why is that, and how broadly are the departments saying you must work with these people, whether it's relevant on a local level or not?
So at the beginning of the programme, as the Minister alluded to, we did provide kind of an offer of various different national programmes that areas might want to draw down upon. NCS was one of those. NCS is actually already working in Blackpool, but potentially at a more limited scale than some of the other areas. What we've absolutely encouraged, and actually has been driven by local areas, is then going, well, how can this programme help to, such as the NCS, help us to meet our targets in a particular area? How does it meet the need? Does it, doesn't it? If it does, then absolutely let's draw on it. If it doesn't, then we'll limit the drawing on of those national programmes. And we've seen that flex across the different areas. But in Blackpool, for example, they have very much then worked with the NCS, and this is the infrastructure we've sought to create to flex their engagement that they've had with the NCS, and indeed flex the nature of the NCS's offer. So in particular ensuring there's a higher focus in terms of disadvantaged young people and the instance of them joining in terms of NCS offers, but also engaging them with specific other voluntary organisations, some of the work that the council are doing in relation to care leavers. So it's not this is a programme that's being imposed, it's here is an offer to you, how do you want to flex it to ensure that it actually meets the needs of the programme in that particular area.